Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll bring the last City Council meeting of 22 to order. Please rise for pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Second. Motion made second. Any discussion? Hearing none. To the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. On to presentations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's first presentation is a recognition of departing council members. Mayor Steve Voss and councilperson Suzanne Urkel and Wanda McLaurin will finish their terms on City Council on or before January 9th, 2023. City Council will publicly recognize these people tonight for their outstanding service in these capacities. Mr. Harrington, would you do the presentation of a plaque for Mr. Voss?
You want to go up front?
Mayor Stephen Voss has a long history of serving the city, taking on various roles throughout his years on the Planning Commission and on East Bethel City Council. He has been a liaison to nearly every committee, coalition, commission, authority, and association and organization in the city, from Parks, Roads, Planning, and EDA to Fire Relief, Watershed Management, and the Finance and Personnel Committees. Mayor Voss has dedicated nearly 20 years of his time and effort to moving the city of East Bethel forward. Steve, we sincerely thank you for your service and dedication to the city of East Bethel.
First of all, I'd like to thank you very much for everything you've done for the city. Here, presented to Steve Voss by the City Council of East Bethel, an appreciation of 18 years of dedicated service committed to excellence. On behalf of the citizens of East Bethel, we thank you for your leadership and your many contributions to our community. Thank you very much.
Now the shoes on the other foot.
Next, we'd like to recognize Councilperson Suzanne Urkel. Councilperson Urkel has served on the City Council since January the 14th, 2019. Mrs. Urkel has served as the liaison to and is the current chairperson of the Anoka County Blaine Airport Commission. She has also been a liaison to Parks and Planning Commission and has also served as a member of the Personnel and Booster Day committees. Suzanne, we thank you for your dedication and service to the city of East Bethel.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Wanda McLaurin. Councilperson Wanda McLaurin was appointed to the City Council on August 30th, 2021 to fill the unexpired seat of Shelley Beck and served until November 9th, 2022. Prior to serving on the City Council, Ms. McLaurin served on the East Bethel EDA and Planning Commissions, being the chairperson of the Planning Commission from 2020 to 2021. Mrs. McLaurin has been active with the East Bethel Chamber of Commerce and played an integral part in the annual Chamber Golf Tournament and volunteered much of her time for the annual Booster Day celebration. Wanda, we sincerely thank you for your service and dedication to the city.
Thank you, Wanda.
I'll send these to you and you can maybe get them, or do you want me to send somebody else?
What's that?
Okay.
You send it to me.
Item 4B, our Anoka County Sheriff Monthly Report. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Sergeant Cole Bangerter. I'm one of the patrol sergeants with the Sheriff's Office, standing in for Lieutenant Peters, who's on vacation this week. So here I have the November 2022 report. Good evening, Mayor, Council members, members of the public. November had a total of 387 calls for service, which was up exactly one call from the previous month of October. Deputies responded to no burglaries this month, 3 thefts, and 1 damaged property call. Deputies responded to 21 property damage crashes on the roadways, which was slightly less than the 28 crashes we responded to last January. Deputies made a total of 16 custodial arrests for miscellaneous violations, and their traffic enforcement efforts resulted in the issuance of 44 traffic citations, which is the highest monthly total we have seen this year to date. Here are some notable calls for service our deputies handled this past month. Deputy Petrich had a criminal vehicular operation call on November 1st. Deputies were dispatched to a report of a two-vehicle personal injury crash in the 18400 block of Highway 65 Northeast. On arrival, deputies provided aid to two passengers in one of the vehicles. They were later transported to the hospital via ambulance, where they received treatment for head and neck injuries. The driver of the other vehicle involved spoke to deputies about what happened and did admit to having 2 beers prior to driving. Deputy Petrich had the driver perform standard field sobriety tests, which he ultimately failed. The driver PBT'd a .189 and was arrested for criminal vehicular operation due to the injuries sustained by the occupants of the other vehicle. Deputy Petrich drafted a search warrant for the driver's blood and transported them to the hospital to obtain the blood sample. The suspect was treated for minor injuries and booked into the Anoka County Jail. Charges will follow pending the results of the blood test. The next one is for Deputy Lynch with a theft call. On 11/4/22, Deputy Lynch received a phone call from a concerned citizen living near 182nd and Fillmore, advising that someone had been on the property cutting down trees and stealing them. Deputy Lynch researched a similar incident from last year at this time and developed suspect information by the use of our law enforcement databases. Deputy Lynch drove the residence of the male who had been involved in this last incident and noticed fresh trees and a red handheld saw sitting outside of the home. The saw and the trees matched the description of what the victim in this case had reported to Deputy Lynch. Deputy Lynch attempted to make contact with the suspect but was unable to speak with them about the incident. Deputy Lynch had a second reliable source approach him, advising that the suspect he was attempting to speak to was the person who was responsible for the thefts. Deputy Lynch issued a citation to the suspect for misdemeanor theft and damage to property, as well as trespassing. Up next is Deputy Madsen with another criminal vehicular operation incident. On 11/11/2022 at 18:39 hours, deputies responded to a personal injury crash at Viking Boulevard and Greenbrook Drive Northeast. When Deputy Madsen arrived, he located a head-on accident at the intersection and determined both drivers had sustained only minor injuries. During this interaction with one of the drivers, he detected an odor of an alcoholic beverage and asked them, while in the ambulance, if they had anything to drink. The male driver admitted to having consumed alcohol several hours ago, but was, quote, fine. The driver refused to perform field sobriety tests and also refused to provide a PBT sample on scene. Deputies Madsen and Johnson drafted a search warrant to obtain a sample of the driver's blood and followed the ambulance to the hospital, where they did obtain a sample of the blood. The driver was also booked into the Anoka County Jail for criminal vehicular operation. Formal charges are pending once the laboratory examination of the blood sample is complete. Up last is Deputy Waddle with a narcotics incident. On 11/18/22 at 23:53 hours, Deputy Waddle stopped a car at Highway 65 and Sims Road for an equipment violation. Deputy Waddle also observed this vehicle leaving a residence known for narcotics activity. Deputy Waddle spoke with the driver, who was defensive and evasive with his answers about where he and his passengers were coming from. Deputy Waddle obtained consent to search the vehicle, which was ultimately granted to him by the driver. Prior to searching the car, the driver and passenger requested to sit in the back seat of Deputy Waddle's squad car to stay warm. Prior to doing so, Deputy Waddle advised them that they needed to be patted down for weapons first. As Deputy Waddle did so, he located a bulge in the male's pocket that was eventually determined to be methamphetamine. The male was arrested and booked into the Anoka County Jail for the drug offense. As this monthly report shows, we have had an increase in alcohol-related crashes on our roads this month. As a reminder, we will be conducting extra enforcement this week and into January. Please drive responsibly on our roads and always plan a sober ride. On behalf of everyone at ACSO, we wish you a safe and happy New Year. Thank you for allowing me to provide a quick update regarding last month's activities. Take questions or
Any
anything?
questions from council tonight?
I have a question of the 44 traffic citations, which was the highest monthly total. What, was there any particular citation that stood out as far as, was it mostly speeding? Was it mostly what? Do you know?
We have seen more speeding tickets than anything else. I would say that's been our biggest increase countywide. I don't know specifically for East Bethel what the breakdown was, but in general, speed has been our, most increasing amount of citation that we've had in the last couple of months.
Okay.
I have a question regarding that house known for narcotics activity. Why can't you guys stop the narcotics activity if you know what's going on there? I don't
Well,
understand.
I've worked a lot in narcotics. I used to be a canine handler for 5 years. It is a long, slow process to work on those target houses. Once we identify them, we stop cars coming and going from there, and once we get the stop, then we have to develop a reason to get into the vehicle or get a canine sniff of the vehicle. So it goes step by step with each spot, or with each stop, sorry, and then just having to develop further and further reasonable suspicion or probable cause to be able to search the vehicle and actually get the drugs. And then typically it's going to be people that are coming and going rather than the people that actually live at the house. We have a harder time catching the people that live there because more often than not they have the narcotics delivered to the house by one of these cars that's frequently coming and going. So it's a constant effort to try and get the drug arrests out of there and identify who's bringing them in, who's taking them out, and who's ultimately responsible for the sales.
So essentially you have to build a case.
Yeah, you have to build a case on each individual traffic stop that we make from somebody coming from the house. But we do have quite a few deputies, especially on night shift, that will sit for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours on these problem houses and try and get stops on cars coming and going and then trying to get into the cars to get the drugs. And the other half of that coin would be at, kind of the county attorney's office for charging out the drug offenses and taking kind of a stiffer stance on those. So with the change coming at the county attorney's office, speaking for me personally and for a number of people at our office, we're hoping to see some stricter enforcement of the drug laws from the county attorney's office.
Me too, actually. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council? Any questions from the audience tonight for our sheriff's department? All right. Okay, Sergeant, you got off easy?
All right. You guys need me to stick around? I'm the only one working the road tonight for supervisor.
You should be on the road then.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks for taking the pictures.
Okay, our monthly fire department report. Chief Sano. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The month of November Fire Department, we responded to 92 calls for service last month. We had 62 medicals, 10 accidents, 4 alarms, 4 smoke or burning, and 6 mutual aid calls. The 6 mutual aid calls, 3 of those were to the same address in St. Francis. It was a very hard fire to get put out. The house had collapsed on it, and we kept going back for hot spots in that. As for Christmas trees, if you had a live Christmas tree, you can dispose of that at the Anoka County compost sites at Bunker Hills and Rice Creek. Or check with your local garbage hauler to see if they're picking them up. Please do not set them outside, let them dry out, then try to light them on fire because they go up very quickly in that. As of today, we have responded to, as of like 45 minutes ago, we've responded to 917 calls for the year in that. That is 56 above last year's. Or actually, it's 58 above last year's. So I think we will finish right around 925 calls of service for the year in that. These are not going to go down. We're going to continue to increase our call volume as we get more businesses and townhomes and that into the area. And that is all I have for tonight. And I just want to wish everybody a happy new year and be safe out there traveling. Is there any questions?
That house on Redwood Court, was that a total loss then?
Yes, that was at St. Francis House?
Yes.
Yes, that was a total loss. Responding, I was on the first truck to arrive when it was a tanker from our city. It was burning pretty good by the time we got there.
Do you know the cause?
No, I do not. That's a St. Francis call, so I wouldn't have the cause for that.
Any other questions for Chief today? Any questions from our audience for our fire chief? All right, Rodney, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
good
Rodney.
week.
You too.
I'll make a motion to adopt tonight's consent agenda. I'd like to pull item I and J.
One second.
Okay, motion made in second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I'd like to pull item E, F, and K.
Okay,
And I'd like to pull item A.
okay, anything else? Okay, so I have A, E, F, I, J, K have been pulled. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item A, Kevin.
On the Sunrise River Water Management, it has this is for bills to be paid, has $2,000. Could you explain what that is? Those are $20 per meeting, is that correct?
That's a separate item. The $2,000 bill is an agreement that all 4 members of the Sunrise River Water Management Organization, East Bethel, Linwood, Columbus, and Ham Lake agreed to pay for the update for the joint powers agreement. That's each city's share for that.
Okay.
So that's what that bill is, and that includes attorney's fees and the fee for Jamie Sherburne with the Anoka Conservation District, who has worked on that, and that document is just about ready to go for the JPA itself. There's some other issues outstanding about some membership, but all that work has been completed, and Tim and I have met with the group 3 times and gone over it with them. So that's our share for the update of the JPA. That hasn't been updated since 1985, with the exception of one change. So they felt it was time to make it come
Probably
into
so.
the 21st century.
And the other thing that I had was the city of Oak Grove for over $14,500.
That is our share for a joint road reconstruction project for University Avenue. That's engineering and soil boring cost. That project will be ready to go to bid probably here in about another 4 to 6 weeks. And Oak Grove and East Bethel are participating jointly in that and splitting the cost.
Thank you. That's all I had for A.
We need a motion to approve the bill list.
I'll make a motion to approve item A.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any further discussion? Hearing none to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Item E.
Item E is the invoices, but I was just noticing how much, I just feel like we pay an extravagant amount for insurance. And I realize it's to the League of Minnesota Cities and that they do a lot, but do they do that much? Can we maybe get some quotes from other State Farm or Farmers or someplace else that does this, or do we have to use League of Minnesota Cities?
We don't have to, but they specialize in the municipal insurance industry. Whether some of these others, unless you go maybe to a different branch of a private industry, does not have the specialty services that they do for coverage for this. We've actually checked in the past and found out that these rates are very competitive or the lowest available also.
Okay, well, with that question answered, I will make a motion to approve item E of the consent agenda.
I had a couple questions on
Is
item
there
E
a second to the
too.
motion?
I'll second.
Motion made second. Further discussion. Go ahead.
Okay, on the approved bills list, the bond principals and debt, it's curious to me, and we talked about it the other day. They're listed here as 2010 A GO, general obligation, water utility revenue bonds, and 2010 B, whereas in the financial statements it's 2015 A and B. And I just wonder why it's one and
They're,
in one part of the accounting system and not in the other.
I'm not sure why that hasn't changed, but they're both the same bond. The 2015 and 2014 A bonds are the refinancing of the 2010
Right,
A
yeah,
and
that's
B
my
bonds.
understanding. It seems simple to put just a slash 2010/2015
We'll make sure that
and
correction's
eliminate the,
confusion, I understand
eliminate
that.
that. I'm easily confused, as you've found out, so. I had the same questions on the Sunrise River, so. Okay, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Item F.
Item F is the fee schedule for 2023. And personally, I disagree with a lot of those fees. I think they're too high. But what I would like to do is table this and let the next council, I think it should go up for a work meeting and you guys discuss each and every single one, because I don't think this came before our work meeting. So I'm going to make a motion to table this item.
Is there a second to the motion to table?
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. You
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that motion to table fails.
I'll make a motion to approve the item F, setting in 2023 fee schedule.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Motion made second. Discussion.
If there is any disagreement with the future council, these fees can always be discussed and brought up by them at future work meetings. So just because we're approving them doesn't mean that they can't change in the future.
Oh, but what would it hurt to table it and let them do it at one time instead of
Because
having to bring
they
it back
might
up?
not have any suggestions or anything. If they
Oh.
want to bring it up in the future, then they can bring it up. But for now, we should get it approved so we have fees set for next year.
Any further discussion? To the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion passes. Item I.
I'm going to put item I and J together. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to the two new district chiefs. From Station 2 is Troy Lisinski, and from Station 1 it's Wade Hoffman. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And we got two new captains. From Station 1, Ryan Henry, and Station 2, Kyle Howard, and I want to thank those two gentlemen too. So I just want to thank all four of you for stepping up and taking these positions. Thank you very much.
And these
Yep,
four
thank
guys
you.
are
Right in the front
front
row.
and second row here.
Second
so-
row, first. Thank you. And with that, I'll approve item I and J as written.
I'll second.
Motion made second. Discussion.
I actually want to also welcome them and thank them for their service, but I do have a question, and I know this is going to sound bad, but are they being paid at the rate of the leaving person, or are they being paid less? Is it the exact same pay as the people left, or?
It'll be the same pay for that position with whoever had it before.
Okay, that was my question. All right, that's all I have.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. To the motion, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. Thanks, gentlemen. Item K.
Am I the
Oh,
only
that's
one?
me.
or- Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. This is the Elevage EB final plat approval, and I was against that because I don't feel like it fits with the character of East Bethel at all. And I realize this has a lot to do with the park fees, which I do not think are enough. So I am not for this.
Make a motion to approve item K, resolution 2022-87.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made second. Discussion.
I'm on the same page as Suzanne, and that is, I still don't know with the change in how the park fees are going to be computed, what the actual park fees are going to be. And I wish we at least knew an amount approximate I
Well,
wouldn't hold anybody to it, but just an approximate.
I mean, what we did with this new language is we set the parameters of how it would be calculated.
Right,
And
but we had an idea before, it was gonna be 34,000 and change.
we had an
And
idea
now we have
because,
no idea.
because it was not applied correctly. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was, the 10% was calculated based on the county market value of the property, not an appraisal.
No.
So what this does, correct me if I'm wrong,
Well,
Chris, but what this does is,
what's your sense of how it's gonna impact it?
it's
have
whatever
no
the
idea.
appraisal, tell me what the
Yeah.
appraisal is, I'll tell you exactly what the park
Well,
dedication fee is.
obviously, that's a do loop, I can't do that.
Yeah, but the idea is it's the appraisal, and we can still negotiate.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, and this new language not only matches city ordinance, it can't define a dollar amount because we're waiting on that appraisal, and there will be some credit for the dedicated parkland in the form of the trails. But what this does do is it complies with city ordinance, and if the council at some point wants to change city ordinance with regard to residential properties to have higher park dedication fees, that's certainly a possibility, but this language does match the ordinance.
And that has been discussed in the park commission, and they do have ideas in the works about that. Not huge increases, but just some increases to make them comparable to the areas around us. But the other question, and you're the probably the best person to ask, Chris, that you or Jack, is why in the final version that I got, and I just got it from Jack, I requested a final clean version without redlining and all that. It said that they were okay with the letter of credit option when we had discussed it possibly being a performance bond. I used to deal with letters of credits in the grain trade, and they're an enormously expensive way to finance short-term things. And I was just wondered, did they ever tell you, or did they tell you, Jack, why they turned out to be okay with the letter of credit after Corey went on and on about it?
I thought it was listed as either or. Letter
I
of
didn't read
credit
it that
or
way. Maybe I
performance bond.
misread it. I don't know.
Is
It gave them the option.
I didn't see that. Maybe I misread it.
I don't believe that's in reference to the final plat.
No.
Is that in
Under
reference to
warrant,
the
it's
development
under the
agreement?
Just
security
It's
warranty.
a condition of the development agreement on security.
Correct,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't have that in front of me. I do recall it being
It's just a
either
matter of
or.
curiosity.
Yeah.
It's not a,
I think from the city's perspective, in most circumstances, we prefer a letter of credit because they're easier for the city to deal with.
Right, right,
Of
right.
course, but
but as he pointed out, it is an expensive form of financing.
it certainly is expensive, but at the same time, we're, chiefly concerned
Yeah.
with our own protections.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I'm done.
Anything else? Any other discussion? Okay, to the motion, all in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. That completes our consent agenda. There's no new business. On to department reports. Jack?
Thank you, Steve. This is an update we give annually for the reserve capacity loan that is outstanding and what the city could eventually owe Met Council for the debt on the wastewater reclamation plant, the force main that takes the discharge from that plant, and the rapid infiltration basins to which this discharge is finally the final place where the discharge is made. Just a little bit of brief history is ultimately this was a $26 million project that Met Council paid for, and to finance it, the city was expected to pay that back through sewer access charges. It was based on some growth projections that didn't work out. And it was also based on the fact that they gave the city no credit for this being a demonstration project. We had several meetings with Met Council, and finally they agreed to give us some relief and give us credit for the demonstration aspects of this project in the form of almost $10 million, and agreed to put a cap on the loan at $2 million, not to exceed. So in the table in your package, you'll see where we stand now. If we get less than 70 SAC units in 2023, this loan will become due in 2024. The loan currently is set up to automatically take place. The city can determine which term they want, from a 10 to 20-year term at 2.73% interest. If we don't meet the SAC goals for this year, there's probably the likelihood that 2025 would be the latest that we could go, because these SAC units that are required to pay off the loan increase at a rate of 17% a year, so they go up quite substantially. But we're in good shape because the loan is capped at $2 billion. We do currently have $1,080,000 in our sewer fund now from previous SAC charges. And if we get these others, we'll have approximately $1.3 million at the end of this year. We can use this money to pay off the loan going forward, using future SAC charges to address this loan. So this is something that we may have to face either in 2024 or 2025. Either way, though, it should have no impact on the levy, because we currently have monies in place to make the loan payments. The loan payments on a 10-year term would be approximately $231,000 a year, and we could potentially even use some of this money to pay down some of that principal to maybe even reduce those costs. That's what we'll have to take a look at toward the end of this year to see where we are. But either in 2024 or 2025, we will have to be making payments on this loan. But we do have the ability to use funds that we already have set up and incoming SAC fees that we collect from growth to pay this off, so it'll have no impact on our budget.
Any questions regarding your report?
I just wanted to make a comment that a resident informed me that there's some kind of a grant or for debt relief for this kind of thing, and I'm wondering if you know about that, if we've tried to apply for anything like that, if it's possible. I'd love to see us keep that $1 million for future, so there's no levy in the future, and use grant money or something like that.
Well, with this money is what's called enterprise funds. It's apart from the general fund levy.
Right.
So we need to keep some amount of money in there, no less than $500,000, because if you have a major issue with sewer lines or lift stations, they're very expensive to replace. We can use it, though, to get this loan cleared off the books quicker. I'm not aware of any grant for that, but if you know that person and they can give me the information, I'll be more than happy to follow up with it.
Thank you. I'll check on it.
Okay. Any other questions? And that was just for information, there's no.
That's correct.
All right, on to staff reports. Jack?
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know in the audience and people that are watching that this will be the last meeting of our city attorney, Chris Nelson. I just personally want to thank him for all of his wise advice, his counsel, and his service to the city. He's been a great asset, and we're deeply going to miss you. Chris has served us now for over 3 years, and I think he's done an excellent job. He's always been very responsive to anything we ask of him. Very easy to work with, and he doesn't talk in lawyer speak to us. So, Chris, thank you for all you've done, and I certainly appreciate your service, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we don't have a fancy plaque for you, but I would entertain to make a motion for a resolution for appreciation of Chris Nelson's work, excellent work towards the city of East Bethel.
I'll second.
Motion made second. Discussion.
Jack, can you draft that up so
Sure
Chris can frame it and have it on his wall?
Yeah.
As new
I feel
house.
bad he left East Bethel.
You can always look and remember your good times here.
And bad.
Well, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Councilmember and council, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve as your city attorney, and Jack, that was not all forms of inflation are painful. I thank you for the kind words there, but it really has been a pleasure, and I know I've had a great team working with me at Eckberg Lammers, and I know whoever fills my seat is going to provide excellent service to the city. This has been a long relationship now with Eckberg Lammers in the city, and it was certainly my honor to fill this seat for a while. Thank you all very much. It's been a pleasure working with you and working for the city. So,
Thank you, Chris, and
Thank you.
good luck in your
Yeah, best,
future endeavors in Madison.
best of luck.
thank you.
Enjoy Madison, I love that city. It's a
Will do.
nice, clean city, or it was last time I was there.
The only other item I had is we've advertised for the Community Development Director's position now for almost 4 weeks. We've only received 3 applications. The applicants we've received have some good qualities. I think, though, this is a position, though, that we need to see if we can attract some other persons. It's a very important position, and I'm recommending that after the application date closes on Friday, that we wait 30 days and re-advertise this position again.
You want to
I agree.
advertise right away or hold off?
I'd like to hold off till the end of January, kind of get out of the holiday season, and
Makes sense. So,
I agree.
anything else?
that's it.
Council reports.
Do we,
Suzanne?
don't we have to vote on the motion?
I'm sorry?
Don't we have to vote on the motion?
It's
For the
really,
resolution?
Oh, the resolution, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
I didn't have anything in front of me.
I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? To the motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, Brian. Okay, Suzanne.
Well, this is my last meeting, and I want to thank all the residents for your support and your questions and your texts, and I really enjoyed this, being up here. I'm not finished working with the city. I'll be volunteering for as many things as I can get my hands on, because I love this city and I care about the people, and just thank you. It's been a great learning experience. I can't imagine how much I've learned in the last 4 years. It just blows my mind when I think about it, but thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Tim?
I got a couple things. A week ago, we had another Sunrise meeting for the Joint Powers Agreement. We're kind of in a stalemate right now till one of our local cities decides what they want to do, so I'll keep everybody posted, and I just want to wish everybody a happy and safe New Year. That's all I got.
Brian?
We had planning meeting last night. The reappointment for Karen Kreppus was approved by the Planning Commission, and we had the public hearing for the preliminary plat for Hidden Pines residential development. I think it was 2 people made a couple comments, and eventually the Planning Commission approved it. So that's all that news. I want to say thank you, Steve, for your years of service and taking an interest when I first got on council and on planning and teaching me some stuff. And thank you, Suzanne, for your 4 years that you put in. It takes a lot of time. We up here all know that, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
So with that, have a happy New Year, everyone.
Kevin?
This time I'm not going to say what. I actually am prepared. This is just for your last meeting, Steve. We had an interesting presentation at the Parks Commission by Karen Blaska. She's an Anoka County park planner, about their plans for Coon Lake Regional Park. And all this stuff is 5 to 10 years out, but they plan on spending quite a bit of money in upgrading the park facilities and the parking and everything. So it'll be exciting, and it is a ways down the line. Sue Jefferson, Denise Lashinsky, and Tim Hoffman all were recommended for renewed terms on the Parks Commission. And Coon Lake Community Center parking lot issue, what had been discussed recently was diverting some monies from the improvements on the playgrounds and the Coon Lake Community Center wasn't interested in doing that, so they withdrew their request for repaving the parking lot at the community center. That's it.
Okay, great. Firstly, Happy New Year. Hope everyone has a safe New Year. You've heard the Sheriff Department will be out, so that's a little bit comforting. When I was thinking about tonight being my last meeting, I realized that it was 30 years ago last week that we put our offer in on our first house in East Bethel. And when we came here, we never even heard of East Bethel. We were literally driving through the city when we saw a for sale sign. And we quickly, made an offer and had the house, and 3 days later, actually right before Christmas, we got the house. And that next summer is when I first joined or applied for planning and zoning. And so that was 93. And I remember saying in my letter something about the fact that our city has this, blank canvas, and to see where our city develops, 30 years ago. And, that turned into eventually running for council and then running for mayor. And so serving the community all this time has been just an incredible honor and an incredible privilege to do this, to be able to volunteer for your community and work for your community and to serve residents and really what we're here for is do what we can to help solve problems. And it's been an interesting long time, and I've seen a lot of things change. But then when I really think about it is we still have this blank canvas. The only difference from now and 30 years ago is the city has a plan, and the city's ready for what growth will happen. But then you look at it, and most of the city still hasn't changed. That's been everyone's concern. All our concern is when the city develops, how is it going to change? And so it's nice to know that our rural area that we all kind of refer to is still rural. So, but it's been the people I've met, the residents I've met, the staff, the council members, the fire department. It's incredible, all these people that you work with and talk things over and bring together and come to solutions for what you want for your community. It's just wonderful to be involved. So I will definitely miss it, and I'd like to thank everyone individually, which I can't, but I can thank my spouse of 30 years of putting up with weekly meetings and 35? Okay, sorry. Just 30 with council though, so. But I appreciate it, and it's, I'm gonna pay attention. It's interesting to see where our city's gonna go, so. And that's all I have, and with that, I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll second.
Motion made in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Our meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.